Hey, welcome to Arc Basics. I'm Phlinger Phoo, and today I want to discuss a few different tricks because there are so many different tricks in this game that I use because I've been playing this game ever since it very first came out. Now, a few of the ones that I do, I really don't even highlight why I'm doing them while I'm making the big long series where I do up to like 200 episodes in one series. There's so many different tricks that I use, and I'm going to be sharing a few of them with you. And instead of just, because normally when I'm doing the tricks in my, these little things that I do in my series, I normally just don't highlight them. I just do them, and if people are watching, then they get the idea, and then they can kind of use that. But now, I'm going to be putting my finger on them. It's like, hey, this thing right here, if you're not already doing it, doing it. But there's going to be a few of these. Matter of fact, people that have watched a bunch of my series, they already know a lot of these. Some of them I really haven't highlighted too much in my series, but I still use them quite a bit. All right, so let's stop talking a little bit. Let's start talking more about the tricks. And hey, let's go off with the first one. All right, the first one that I like to use is shoulder pets. Shoulder pets, if you do not have a shoulder pet, grab a shoulder pet. Any shoulder pet really it doesn't really matter. Each individual one has its own uses. I'm not going to cover each individual use for them, but what I am going to be talking about is the weight reduction that it goes along with them. All shoulder pets have an innate weight reduction. So say, matter of fact, this guy right here, I've got a bunch of stuff on him that I'm just not using right now, but I want to have it with me. But I don't want the entire weight to show up. So here, look. So say I have 195 weight right now with all of my different types of armor. I have the armor for desert cloth. I have the armor for when I go into the snow biomes. I have my armor for when I like to go into the caves. And I also have just a spare set of ghillie for when those times where you just don't want to be bugged by something or you want to do something where it's kind of covertly. So, what I'll do is I take the shoulder pet, throw all this stuff in there, pick him up, and now we just lost 50 pounds worth of weight. He's carrying all of it for us, and yeah, it's just there for whenever we need it. It's not one of those things that I'm going to freely switch over to all the time, but it is one of those things that, I want to, when I go out on an adventure, I want to have it handy. So, if you're not using the weight reduction on a shoulder pet, do it. Get a shoulder pet. Any shoulder pet. Yeah, it could be from a Compy to a Mesopithecus to a Sonoma Crops. Just grab one and use them. Stick the stuff that you want to keep in your inventory, but you don't actually want to have the weight from it. Just stick it in them for a while. If you have a taming trap, which we will be covering later, stick it inside of the shoulder pet. Trust me, it works really well. Alright, now this next one, it's going to be more geared towards the newer players, and it is about how to harvest different types of meats and hides and all sorts of stuff. Alright, so now you'll see here we have a direwolf and a saber-tooth. Now, these guys, they couldn't be more different when it comes to actually how much they harvest of different things, and I'll explain why. Now, if you're looking to go harvest a bunch of meat, say for your troughs or something, you're going to definitely want to take the direwolf. And if you're going to want to go harvest a whole bunch more hide, you're definitely going to want to take the saber-tooth. Now, I'll explain this a little bit because, here, let me get out a handy-dandy laser pointer. Alright, so now this poor defenseless direwolf that I'm currently engaged in pointing my bow at, now, this guy right here, when wolves, they attack, they don't really use their claws on too many things. It's more a bite attack. And you kind of want to keep that in mind when you're looking at what they will harvest, meat or hide. If they're more of a biter, then chances are they're going to harvest more meat than they will hide. But, see, this guy right here, the saber-tooth, their jaws, they're formidable, but that's really not what their intended purpose for. Those claws, that's where the death and destruction comes from, is the claws on the saber-tooth, which means they're going to be really good at shredding things, which means that they're going to be able to give hide. And same thing goes for all sorts of different dinosaurs, and that's kind of how you look at it when it comes to gathering a bunch of stuff. The Carnotaurus, yeah, they're going to be getting more meat than they will anything. Raptors, they're going to get... actually, I think Raptors is a pretty good mix of both. They're one of the only ones that do that. But Carnos and stuff like that, they're going to be getting meats. And, yeah, so like Therizinosaurus, they're going to be getting more hide. Yeah, and that's just the way you got to look at it. So use them for your intended purpose, and it will make your life a little bit easier. All right, this next trick has to deal with Baryonyxes and their natural health regeneration. A lot of people don't realize just how their health regeneration works, or that they even have any to begin with. All right, so Baryonyxes, they just don't eat regular meat. They don't. But if you want them to be able to regenerate really, really fast, you can either throw a whole bunch of fish meat in their inventory. See, here, watch this. As he naturally eats, his health is going up super fast. All right, or you could force feed them it, and then they get extra food. They get extra health over what they normally would, what anything else would when you force feed it fish meat. Which means that Baryonyxes, especially if their food is extremely low and they eat more because their health is low, means they're going to be regenerating super, super fast. So if you want to heal them up wicked fast, you could force feed them like this, and it goes faster than any other dino. Or if you are, say, like in the caves and you're using these, because face it, Baryonyx are one of the very best cave mounts that I know of. If you're in there in the cave and you have no access to fish meat, just let them kind of starve out as you're going, because a lot of the caves, they will have fish in there. Go smack a couple fish, and then as they're refilling their food, they'll be eating tons of meat and just doing this to themselves. And it means that they regenerate a ton of health wicked, wicked fast. It is really cool. All right, the next trick I want to talk about, or the next tip, it's not really a trick. This one right here is as you're playing, say like if you start on just an island somewhere or on the beach, and as soon as you are able to, you want to really start making crop plots very early, as low as probably 26 right here, maybe even a little bit lower. You want to start getting some of this stuff ready for it, because as you're leveling up, you want to have those crops going, because things tend to move kind of fast at certain stages, and as you get a little bit higher level, you're going to start to want these crops, and what you need is you need to have the crops kind of going before you actually need them, quite a bit before you actually need them. So as soon as you can, like around 24 to 26, maybe even 28, get the crops going. It doesn't have to be inside of a greenhouse. Matter of fact, you really don't need to have it inside of a greenhouse unless you want them now, as in now, as opposed to in next play session now. Normally, they will just continue to grow while you're logged out. If you're in on a public server or on a regular server, if you're in your single player, they'll stop growing, and they'll only grow whenever you're online in a single player. But that's just how single player works. But get the crops going as early as possible, as quick as possible. Like I said, it doesn't have to be inside of a greenhouse. You can have it just set on the beach down there with the water going to it, feeding it with fertilizer. Now, you could take a whole bunch of poop and you could stick it in here. One of the easiest things is probably early on, go dedicate a little bit of time to get just at least one dung beetle, and then start getting fertilizer that way. It is the most efficient, but until you can actually do that, you can start just using regular poop instead of fertilizer. Fertilizer is the best, but yeah, it's until you can get the dung beetles tamed up and then giving you a whole bunch of fertilizer, just grab the poop from either yourself, your shoulder pets, your animals, your dinos, and just stick it in there. It does work. It's not as good as the fertilizer, but it totally will do it. Yeah, so get those crop plots going as early as possible, and you won't regret it later on. And then as you go, you will definitely be thanking yourself as you get to the higher stages of the game, and then you look back and you go, you know what? I've got all the veggies I need. That was a good job. All right, the next tip I want to point out is early game Mo shops. These guys can actually make you have a really, really good play session or an experience as you're going through, especially in the earlier levels. These guys, they are amazing at harvesting so many different things. Plus, also, you can ride them without a saddle, which means that you don't have to craft anything for it. It's just, bam, they're there. The only problem is that sometimes they could take some rather interesting stuff to tame them up, but you never know until you actually go take a look. It's like, let's see, this guy, raw prime fish meat, level 25. This guy's not that great just because it's gonna take some raw prime fish meat. Now, if you have access to the raw prime fish meat, I would totally recommend to tame that guy. So if there's any salmon in the rivers, harvest them up, get him some raw prime fish meat, and just see, you know, because it'll make you have a better day. But you never know what they're gonna need until you actually go up and ask. Now, let's see. There's most shops over there. Here's another one right here. What is this guy gonna take? Cooked prime meat. Well, we don't want to have to use that. I mean, I have it in my inventory, but I don't want to use it for him just because most beginning survivors don't. I did see another one over here. Where did you go? Are you up over this hill? Oh, here he is. Or is this the right one? Yeah, measureberry. See this right here? This there's a measureberry one right here. You can just walk up to any bush, grab a measureberry, stick it inside of your 0 slot, and then go over. What level are you anyway? No, it doesn't. There we go. Now we have a quick and easy Mo Shops. We can actually just hop on this guy. We can harvest up all sorts of different things. This guy, he can be a berry tamer for us. He can harvest up some thatch for us really well. And it's pretty impressive. He can also get a whole bunch of hide if we want to use him for that. Also, he harvests fiber from bushes, which means he just completely changed our early game experience. Instead of having to handpick all of our fiber until we get a sickle, this guy right here, just pop on his back, go out, use him for whatever. It's absolutely amazing. Plus, also, these guys have the extra added benefit. You can actually level up their harvesting. This is one of the only dinos in the game that you can do that. You can actually go here and say if you want to use this guy for getting raw prime meat, you can totally level him up that way. If you want to get him for rare mushrooms, leech blood, organic polymer, raw prime fish meat, sap, you can do that. And then you just leveled up. That means that they get more. They're more dedicated to that harvesting. And then also now you have a mount, and then a mount means that you have additional hit points while you're going around for your early stages of the island. It is really, really good. So early game Mo Shops taming, I would absolutely recommend it. These guys are really good, and even a level 10 one will change the way that you play the game early game. Another thing I want to point out, the next tip, is when you're out and about, and say you're just started in the game, but you see a dodo on the beach. Now, if you don't need the absolute meat, knock that sucker out. Throw a couple measureberries on him, and then leave him. Normally, you can find 3 or 4 of them in one area. Come back later, get those. Come follow me, Mo Shops. Pick them up and take them back to your base, because later on, when you actually start making custom recipes, dodo eggs are an amazing source for custom recipes. It's like this little compy right here. He's probably going to die, but I could knock him out and I could tame him as well. But while you're going around, make sure you're paying very close attention to all the different things that you can tame, because say you have a little mission that you're going to go out and you want to tame a trike, but you see a parasaur that is in the ideal spot for you to tame, or is on your way to go find the trike, and you have a bola in your inventory, knock that parasaur out. Throw some berries in his inventory. Get that tame of opportunity. Make sure that you drop enough in him so where he'll be tamed when you come back with that trike. Now, not only do you have a trike, but you also have a parasaur in your with you that you can now use, which makes it always keep an eye out for tames of opportunity. They will make a difference, even if you end up not using them in the long run. It will also mean that if you need it, you have the extra muscle, you have the extra manpower later on down the road, or they could just be a figurehead on your base. You never know, but keep an eye out for those tames of opportunity early game, because trust me, they will help out far more often than you realize. All right, this next tip I want to cover, it actually talks about loot drops. Now, what we want, make sure while you're out and about, take very special care to actually pay some attention to the loot drops. A lot of people that I know, they go their entire game without opening up in a single loot drop, at least till the end game, and then they realize, oh, hey, I need better gear for this stuff. Now, the only way to really get some of this good gear is by opening up the loot drops. Go inside the caves, go underwater, go do all sorts of different things that allow you to open up loot while you're out and about on the map. If you see a loot drop that's kind of close by you, go get it, or spend an afternoon, go out where that's all you do is go from loot drop to loot drop. Because trust me, the differences between a regular crossbow right here for 100% damage, and this crossbow right here is night and day. There is such a huge difference. This one down here, while it's not really the best one, I just got this one out of a quick and easy loot drop, has 187 damage, has higher durability, and this one right here has only 100 durability and 100% weapon damage, which means that this one right here that I got out of a loot drop is going to hit for almost twice as hard, and I got it for free. I didn't have to craft it. It's just that good. Make sure you're paying very close attention to the loot drops, or, you know, play your game, but, you know, spend some time and then actually go out and get some extra loot drops, because trust me, it does add up, and you will thank me later on that, because, yeah, having better gear, it's almost like you're superpowering your character, and it makes playing so much more rewarding and so much easier. All right, this next tip I want to discuss is much like the last tip, is the caves. Don't be too afraid of them. A lot of people go through their entire time. They go years in Ark without going through a single cave. Now, caves, they aren't really that hard. I mean, there are some caves that are rather dangerous, but caves are a really, really good source of loot. And then you can take out your favorite dino. You can go inside a cave. Just make sure that you are well prepared before you go inside of these, because sometimes you can get in bad situations inside of them. But as long as you're paying very close attention to what you're doing, trust me, the caves, they're not as hard as a lot of people make them out to be. I farm the caves quite often in my regular playthroughs, where I go through and I do all sorts of stuff. And how did a Listro get down inside of here? That is not something you see every day. But yeah, the caves, fantastic sources of loot. You can get all sorts of different things. You can get from red drops all the way down to white drops. And yeah, there's just lots and lots of loot waiting inside of here. Plus also, caves are generally a really good source of hide and chitin that you're going to need later on in the game for making all sorts of different things. So yeah, grab a dino. My preferred dino is Baryonyx for most caves. In some caves, a saber-tooth, direwolf, all sorts of the smaller dinos can fit down inside of. You can go through, you can grab a bunch of loot, and you can just have a really good time. And also make sure when you're going through in the caves that you grab either some some hide armor or a nice set of cloth armor, something that you can repair in your inventory. It is kind of important. Or grab a pair of pliers, and then you can repair just about whatever inside of the inventory of anything. So yeah, as long as you have pliers, you can do that. I generally tend to not carry pliers, but yeah, just make sure you go in, you start messing around with caves. This cave right here is the easiest one to practice on the island. If you're interested, you can just come down here. You can run through this one. Yeah, it's got a few Arthropleura and stuff in it, and you can get into a few bad situations, but this is the easiest cave on the island if you want to go practice coming in, and it's a little bit safer than a lot of the other places. So yeah, start out on this one, get the loot, and then come out, and then yeah, cave loot, really, really good stuff. Alright, well, in the next tips and tricks, this one is actually kind of both. If you're having a hard time locating something, say Thylacoleos in the redwoods because they're too busy being stuck to their stupid trees all the time, grab yourself an Argent. Grab yourself a Parasaur. Make sure you turn the Parasaur onto alert mode, and then just pick it up with the Argent and then carry the Parasaur around. It's like you're taking your base wherever you want, or your Parasaur that you have at your base wherever you want, so he can highlight all the bad stuff. Right here, let's Yeah, see, all you do is just send out a ping, and it'll tell you where all the bad stuff is. Right now, this is the only one up here. This is a bit odd. All right, but yeah. And it'll tell you where everything is. It'll highlight the thylas on the trees. Yeah, these guys, this is even a good way for finding phoenixes on Scorched Earth when it's not a super heat event. You can actually find where they spawn on it with a Parasaur being carried by something. It's really, really cool. Yeah, this is just one of those tricks that's it's one of the easiest ways of being able to find hard to find things. That because of, say, the environment around you is blocking your line of sight, or if you go inside of the redwood trees, then the thylacoleos are definitely gonna pounce you. This way here, you can keep at a safe distance, and you can just kind of go above it, and then have them shout down, and then highlight, hey, there's a thyla down here. It works. It works really well. Alright, just remember when going through the trees that the Parasaurs, their reach is pretty dang long. So if you keep to just below the canopy, you're not going to get hit with the thylacoleos, and you're going to be able to call out just about any thyla that is attached to any of the trees. Granted, some of them generally tend to like to fall off and go pick a fight with those on the ground, but yeah, it's as long as you're flying about this high, you're kind of going to be left alone by just about everything. And there's something right down there. I just got to pinpoint it. Yeah, it is that easy. Alright, the next tip I want to give you is, especially if you're starting out on Ragnarok or Lost Islands map, an early game Equus is... It's better than early game Moschops. These guys are amazing. Not only do they have a torpor back kick that allows you to knock out things without having to actually even use any ammunition or anything of the sort, but you can actually ride these guys without their saddle. You can just take that sucker off and you can just ride them just like that without it. But once you actually do get high enough level to craft the Equus saddle, which is only level 20, it's actually really, really easy. It makes things so much better for you because inside their saddle, it's a little mortar and pestle that you can just use freely. Plus, also, you have the ability to craft lassos that allow you to grab hold of smaller creatures and then just drag them around the map into and out of all sorts of different things, into taming pens and all sorts of cool stuff like that. Yeah, early game Equus, if you are able to get one early game, trust me, it will be an absolute game changer. These guys are amazing. All right, now this next one, we're going to be talking about taming pens. Use them. This one right here is one that I have just next to my base. It's kind of a, just if I'm out and about and I'm grabbing something, and I see something that I want, I can just take it back here, drop it in here, and then just tame it. But you can make a much smaller one that you just carry around inside of your shoulder pet's pockets, and then whenever you get to, whenever you find something that's in a rather precarious area, throw down the taming pit, throw down a ramp, lead it up inside of it, and just knock it out at your leisure. There's all sorts of different taming pens. There's ones that you can use for Argents. There's ones that you can use for Dinopithecus. There's ones that you can use for Rexes. There's even ones you can use for Gigas. There's all sorts of different taming pens. Use them. Enjoy them. If you have any questions about them, I have many videos on my channel about taming pens, how to make different ones, and then also how to make rather specific ones geared towards like hyenodons and passive tames that are aggressive towards you. Yeah, I've got so many different taming pen ideas on my channel. Just, yeah, I encourage you to take a look. Alright, well that's just about gonna do it for this video. I hope these tips helped you out. I hope some of them can help you out on your journey through Ark. Now, let me know in the comments down below, how many of these have you used for a while, or how many of these are just kind of new to you? Or also of any additional tips and tricks, just little things that you do without even realizing it, that a lot of new players would actually really enjoy knowing, or you think that could actually help out all sorts of new players as they're just coming into Ark. Alright, so hey, I hope this video helped you out. If it did, make sure you click that like button. I really appreciate it. If you're new around here, subscribe. Until next time, this is Phlinger Phoo, and take it easy, everybody.